What's in a name? Vitpilen. Vitpilen? Vitpilen. Despite what I'd call a lack of any discernible accent, I can barely pronounce it without sounding like a silly hick. But maybe that's what this bike needs to be named. Something you can't really put to words we normally understand. If we translate it from Volvoese, we get something called White Arrow, which is kind of ironic given this bike's namesake's roots in the 60s, in which we find the Silver Arrow. Something with arguably less silver than this new machine. Not in style, but in substance. So good, but not quite. Second best. The first loser, if you will. I mention the irony of this machine because that's what we find in this bike's lineage. It's so different from what they tried to associate it with. In regular car reviews' video on the Toyota FJ Cruiser, he went into the literary weeds to compare and contrast. See what I did there? Simulation and simulacrum. If you haven't seen it, pause this video right now. Open it in a new tab. We'll all be here when you get back. You good? No, you're not. Come on, this video is waiting and timestamped right down in the description, right where you need to watch. Alright, now that that's out of the way, you can kind of see exactly where I pinned this bike. It's so caught up in all this neo-retro mess, I'm surprised it doesn't ship with enough grid lines caught up in the wheels and chained from the factory floor to just shut it down completely. And yet, I love every inch of it. Good lord, I'm enamored with the synthwave, cityscape, cell-shaded, low-poly count, gentleman's ride, hey, is it okay if I borrow your VCR? Dear God, I promise it's not to put my dick in this time. Aesthetic. And yet, the name makes perfect sense. What could be more straightforward than an arrow? What would be a better name for this street bike than what Husqvarna, long out of the street bike game, would call it to match its previous iterations? Okay, yes, I know, it's essentially just a KTM Duke wrapped up in everything that makes my inner hipster warm in the pants area, but bear with me here. That brings us to this full-on simulacrum of an Austro-Stockholmian future that never existed on these rich, new Milanese rubber shoes. I'd say leather, but let's compromise here. One gigantic lung spits out 53 foot-pounds of torque at 6,700 RPM. And even more impressively, 75 horsepower at... That wasn't it. 75 horsepower at 8,500 RPM. One cylinder, counterbalanced to perfectly act at a RPM that the LS engine can't even go past. Compression ratio is 12.8 to 1, so you're not going to be feeding it the cheap stuff, but who cares when a couple extra bucks per tank is all it takes to get One Punch Man to start ordering past all the Suzuki SV650s right into Kawasaki Z800 territory. I'll put it bluntly. I'm biased when it comes to this machine. From the instant I saw it debut at EICMA 2017, to the minute I watched the Arrow cast itself from the bow from behind Wayne's Cycle Shop into the front parking lot where the tech had literally just finished off all its pre-flight checks to be ready to test ride with a nice little 1 on the odometer. I was hooked. This bike is everything I crave in a motorcycle. Sharp looks, albeit to me, that don't turn most people's heads, but with power you don't expect it to have. And perhaps most importantly, a fault. Something that most who take interest in turn away and don't finish the page the instant they see their boomer dad YouTube comment section pre-programmed deal breaker cross their view. 75 horsepower? Good starter bike. Nothing like that Honda Hayabusa crotch rocket mess. Not too much, and I won't get bored of... Whoa. Did you say just one cylinder? Does that thing have a dirt bike engine? I don't care how many strokes you say it's got. I say it's only got one, and I ain't mixing oil. Ugh. Anyway, my hands are now out of my pants and laid bare. What's it like to ride? Painful. Well, sorta. It's no secret that I'm not a sport bike enthusiast. I love all motorcycles, but cruisers are my gig. And that means I'm not used to resting all of my upper body weight on wrists that I can wrap my thumb and middle finger around. Yeah, I need to hit the gym again, I know. But no matter how many plates I press, it isn't going to help me see this LCD dash in direct sunlight glare any easier. But that's the nature of the beast here. This Husky came factory with clip-on bars, or about where your hands would be on real clip-ons for that low-slung sporty riding style. And that's fine. It's not meant to be an upright standard, but a beautiful chic hydro commercial. Sans all the hydro. And more brown. But man, it wasn't comfortable. If I didn't know better, I thought I'd just been sat on a dirt bike with sport bike handlebars. You sit high off the ground, on a cardboard-thin seat with all your weight forward. Something I didn't really experience with the bars of the 401 Vitpilen. Vitpilen. Ugh, sorry. Ignore that. That I reviewed up here in the top corner. But you know what? That's a good thing. If the 401 Vitpilen was a relaxed, elevated cafe/curb hopper fit for escaping the cops on a particularly woodsy road, the 701 Vitpilen is the double-or-nothing escape from Neo-Tokyo speedster you never expected to be fast by looking at it because you're not exactly sure what it is you're even looking at. After all, when you see a bike that shows off the sporty-looking appearance this thing has, where in the world is that lawnmower and why is it so loud is not something you'd expect to think. This thing gets out of its way pretty quick. Yes, it's not a Yamaha R1, but it doesn't need to be. 75 horsepower is the same output my Suzuki Intruder 1400 put out at peak, with twice the displacement and twice the cylinders. It also stopped half the distance using twice the rotors with more diameter at half the overall weight. Okay, so that's not amazing, but still, color me impressed. I don't know what else I can say about this machine at this point. You see it, your pants get tight, and then you learn about what powers it. But I say that like it's not enough. There's more glory in driving slow things fast than there is driving fast things slowly. And somehow this feels like you're getting both. I don't know, man. I'm just here for the ride while this thing asks every red line if we've tried surstroming, as it takes me to that infinite wire-framed horizon. Thankful it never really gave me a whiff, 93 octane, 10W40, or rotting fish alike. It just laughs every time. And so do I. Thanks for watching.